The NFL draft is officially behind us, and it completely shook up the landscape for fantasy football. And certain guys have now found themselves in even better positions entering 2025, and they're quickly rising up the fantasy football rankings. Starting with DeAndre Swift, who quietly just came out of the NFL draft as a major winner, because if you look at the draft picks for the Chicago Bears this year, right, you can see their first round pick was Colston Loveland, second round Luther Burton, a tight end, a wide receiver, then we can get an offensive lineman, and then you keep scrolling, defensive player, all the way down in the seventh round out of Rutgers, Kyle Monangai. He was the only running back that they took in the entire draft. And if you know anything about following football, seventh round picks usually don't pan out. Okay, you could say Isaiah Pacheco, but for the most part, it's rare. And actually in this draft, multiple times, it seemed like the Bears were maybe primed to take like a third, or fourth, or fifth round running back, and a back went right before them, and then they traded down. So maybe they were planning to take one, but at the end of the day, they didn't. Which means as of right now, the competition for DeAndre Swift is similar to what it was last year. It's mostly going to be Roschon Johnson. Now they do have a new offensive coordinator that DeAndre Swift has played with before in Ben Johnson coming in. So there's always a chance that now that he has new personnel, he could change up, maybe use Roschon Johnson more. And I do think that will happen, but we have to declare DeAndre Swift a winner after what just happened in the draft. Because it's not like DeAndre Swift is some bum. Like, he's gotten some bad reps overall from a lot of people going viral on Twitter because, oh, like, look how bad he looked on a couple of these runs, or just in general, he's been a head case at times with the Detroit Lions, whatever it might have been. He's gotten some bad brand to go along with him, if you will. But if you just look at the production overall, like what we're focused on in fantasy is getting yards, getting receptions, touchdowns. Like these last 2 years, 959 rushing yards and over 1,000 rushing yards. You pair that in with the fact that the guy can catch passes, right? He's averaging about 45 receptions per season the last 3 years, 386 receiving yards, 214. All that is a lot of numbers, but what it means is over the last 2 seasons, he's topped 1,200 total yards and 6 touchdowns in each season. That's productive. And at times last season, really the middle part of the season when Caleb Williams was struggling, the offensive line looked terrible. DeAndre Swift was like the engine of this entire offense. You might not recall this, but I'll pull it up right here over on Player Profiler. These are the game logs, so this would be like week 1 right here. If you scroll down a little bit, it was a terrible first month of the season for DeAndre Swift, but from weeks 4 through 8, he has 165 yards. This is his total yardage. 120, 119, 129. He's getting a touchdown every week. RB3, RB2, RB6 on the week, RB11. I mean, even in the weeks where he's not scoring a touchdown, he's still going for 80 plus yards, 80 plus yards. The worst weeks are 65 yards. Like, he's going out there getting a reception or 2 or 3 and was being productive. Like, week in and week out, you felt good starting him. And now there's been no added competition. You look at what they did in free agency on my team changes tracker in the fantasy blueprint. All they did was improve their offensive line. Jonah Jackson, Joe Thuney, right? They end up getting Drew Dahlman, I believe the best center in the free agency market. He was one of the 2 best, you could say, with the Colts center. I think he was the best. All they do is improve their offensive line. They continue to do that in the draft as well with Ozzie in the second round. They add some pieces, playmakers, Luther Burton, Colston Loveland, and now they have a much better offensive coordinator and play caller. I mean, as good as you can go from last year to 2025 with Ben Johnson. I think things are looking good for DeAndre Swift. And things are also looking up for Stefon Diggs, who I'll be the first to admit, and I think we made a video on this back in the free agency period, like the fact that he was 31 years old signing a contract coming off of a torn ACL, I was a little bit sketched out by this, and I thought maybe the Patriots should have been as well. Like, it just created a lot of question marks for me trying to analyze this from a fantasy standpoint. Like, okay, he's 31 off the torn ACL. What will his role look like, and how's that actually going to make the Patriots offense any better than it was last year? But now it's hard to ignore the fact that Stefon Diggs is going to play a major role in this offense. You look at the Patriots draft. Okay, top 5 overall pick, Will Campbell. That's a smash pick. Second round, Travion Henderson. In real life, that's awesome. But the only wide receiver they added was a 3rd round pick on Kyle Williams out of Washington State. And I'll be the first to admit it. I really like Kyle Williams. Like, I have to admit, I like him quite a bit. If you've seen some of my short form content, our most overlooked players in the draft, he featured in that. He's 5'11", 190 pounds. He ran a 4.4 40 time, which is great. And he broke out at Washington State last year with 1,200 yards and 14 touchdowns. I mean, Kyle Williams is talented. Now, he's not a day 1 receiver. I don't think he's a massive threat like a first round pick at Tet McMillan would have been if they landed here for Stefon Diggs. But if anything, I think Kyle Williams actually helps Stefon Diggs, because the way that Kyle Williams wins is on the outside, stretching the field, yards after the catch, winning at the line of scrimmage. And if he's dominating, or at least can get some production on the outside, which the Patriots didn't have last year, that will allow the 31-year-old Stefon Diggs to work more out of the slot, the short to middle parts of the field, which is where he found a lot of success last year with the Texans, averaging over 15 fantasy points a game. And if we look at the rest of the offseason for the Patriots, they added Kyle Williams in the draft, like we said, but outside of that, they added, of course, Stefon Diggs himself, just Matt Collins. Like, that's it. There's not a lot of competition going on in this New England wide receiver room. If you look at it, you're looking at Jalen Polk, a 2nd round pick from last year, didn't do much. Demario Douglas, who's going to be involved, but we kind of know what he is at this point. Probably somebody who can go out out there, earn 4 to 6 targets, not really be all that explosive or do much after the catch. They bring in Matt Collins, just kind of a depth piece. Like, there's not much here at all. Javon Baker had a brutal 4th-round pick last year, rookie season. Kendrick Bourne might not even be on the team. Kayshon Boutte, okay, he had like these 5 or 6 target games. Overall, it's just a bunch of names. I think Kyle Williams is easily the 2nd best wide receiver on this team, and Diggs is going to be in line for like 120 to maybe even 130 plus targets. All right, now let's move over to the next winner, and we have to talk about what just happened in the Cincinnati Bengals draft. Because if we look at their draft right here, you can see they spent their first, 2nd round picks on defensive players. Shamar Stewart, a defensive end, and a linebacker out of South Carolina. And if you keep scrolling all the way down here, it's not until their final pick in the 6th round, Taj Brooks out of Texas Tech. That was the first time in the entire draft that they took a running back, which means that Chase Brown is a massive winner here. Because all we heard all offseason from the Browns coach and Zach Taylor to their GM was that they had to get a guy to take touches off of Chase Brown's plate. Because last year, Chase Brown had, so much volume. Like, if you just look at his overall touches per game, you scroll down here on player profile, you can see 229 carries. Okay, it's 14 carries per game, 4 targets per game, 18.4 opportunities per game. You might just say, like, that's a strong role. It's a very good role, but is it really that overwhelming? Well, yeah, the second half of the season, from week 9 on, he was averaging 24 touches per game, and he eventually got hurt in week 17, his ankle. So yeah, they don't want that to happen again. So they go out and they draft a 6th rounder in Taj Brooks. He's a big back. He's 214 pounds. You scroll down to what he did at Texas Tech. He's their all-time leading rusher because, he was just a beast. He was there for 4 years. His final 2 years there, he had over 1,500 rushing yards per season. He had 10 and 18 touchdowns. He was highly productive, but this isn't going to be a guy, right? He's a patient runner. He can get through contact, but he doesn't have elite speed. He's not overly impressive as much as just kind of like a grinder overall, and he just he was reliable, being out there and healthy. But at the end of the day, he's a 6th round pick. He's probably fighting for a roster spot right now with the RB2 and 3 on this team in Zach Moss and Samaje Perine, which means that Chase Brown has basically the same competition as last year. Zach Moss being one of them. We saw what he did. Zach Moss got a little bit banged up, and Chase Brown never gave over his RB1 duties after that. They bring back Samaje Perine, who used to be on this team. He's coming over from the Chiefs. Okay, he can pass protect. He might catch a ball or 2 in a game. He's going to be a 3rd down back, but he's 30 plus years old. He's not seeing a big workload here. So where are they giving the touches? I think they're going to give a couple per game to Zach Moss. Maybe we'll see what happens with their rookie Taj Brooks, but I still think you're getting 16 to 18 touches per game out of Chase Brown. And oh yeah, I should point out that this offseason, they did add Lucas Patrick to the offensive line, but they spent their 3rd round pick, their first pick on offense, on Dylan Fairchild. He's a guard. If you've seen anything from Dylan Fairchild, just look up a couple of clips. This guy is nasty. He's going to help open up interior running lanes for Chase Brown. All right, now a quick reminder before the next player we talk about. If you want a real edge this fantasy season, make sure you're getting my free 5-day fantasy course. You can find it right here. It'll be linked down below, startwinningfantasyfootball.com. We'll put a QR code up on the screen in a second. It's basically packed with strategies and really the 5 draft mistakes. They're listed right here. The 5 draft mistakes that I see people make by far the most after my 7 years of doing this full time, and the ways that you should be avoiding these. And these are things that probably your league mates are going to make these mistakes. You don't have to be the one doing it. You can instead, finishing 2nd and 3rd or 7th in your league, start winning. There's a QR code on the screen right now to make sure you get it. I put about 20 to 25 hours into this to make sure that it's worth your time. Again, QR code link in the description. It's startwinningfantasyfootball.com, and you can go get it totally free. The next guy skyrocketing up the fantasy rankings, it has to be James Cook, because he avoided a landmine. Like, there was a lot of risk for the Buffalo Bills drafting a running back in this draft class because James Cook came out this offseason and said, I want to be one of the top paid running backs, $15 million per year. And then even his brother, Dalvin Cook, came out and started saying, doubling down and backing up his brother, like, yeah, this guy deserves a lot of money, even though James Cook's contract isn't up for like another year and a half, 2 years. So it started to raise some risks. Like, the Bills could just take a replacement early on to have some leverage in negotiations, or if they don't view Cook as a $15 million per year running back, they can just take another running back and say, yeah, we have kind of an exit plan here. They were often being mocked to like Travion Henderson in the 1st round. But the good news for Cook is that the draft came and went, and they did not spend any of their 9 picks. If you scroll down here, their first 5 picks overall were on defense, and then their first pick on offense was a tight end in the 5th round. They don't spend any of their 7 picks, or 9 picks. The 7th round pick was a wide receiver at the running back position, which means that James Cook has no added competition compared to what he had last year. Like, the only guy they added in free agency, this Bills team, was Darrington Evans. If you know anything about Darrington Evans, we can pull it up right here. I mean, this is a guy who's 27 years old. He's been in the NFL for 5 years now. If you scroll down overall, he only has, in his entire NFL career, 65 carries across 5 seasons. That's not per season, that's total. So this guy is averaging about 13 to do, oh, we're not even in the right spot. There we are. 13, right? We try and be professional here, but sometimes we look at the wrong camera. It's okay. There's the right camera. This guy only averages 13 carries a year. Obviously, he's not really a threat. I don't even think he's going to make the team because the Bills brought back Ty Johnson on a 2-year deal, and it makes sense. sense. He led the NFL. Here's kind of like a bar trivia for you. He led the NFL last year in yards per touch amongst running backs with 8.4. Ray Davis is entering his second year, showing a lot of flashes and efficiency in his rookie year. So James Cook has the same competition as last year, the same competition as to when he was a top 12 fantasy back, number 11 overall. But let's be real here. He averaged 16.7 fantasy points per game. Again, top 12, number 11 overall, but he did score 18 touchdowns. Like, he was propped up by touchdowns, and that's not sustainable, right? These 18 touchdowns when you're scoring 6 and 3 your 2 previous years because you're playing next to Josh Allen, who just robs you of touchdowns. And in general, you're not really a goal line back at about 200 pounds flat. If that number drops back down to even a strong number, like 7 or 8 touchdowns, we're going to look at James Cook probably finishing as like the RB20 unless he somehow puts on more muscle and becomes a goal line back and 3 down back. So I would still be a little bit hesitant going into 2025 on James Cook as things currently stand because of that touchdown regression, but there's no doubt about it. He was a winner from the NFL draft fallout. And so was Isaiah Pacheco, like very quietly a winner. I don't see a lot of people talking about this because I think they get caught up in what Kareem Hunt did last year. We'll talk about that in a second, but this guy has to be a winner. If we look at what the Chiefs just did this offseason, they go out here in the NFL draft, they spend their first round pick on a tackle, Josh Simmons. They have to improve the offensive line. We saw what the Eagles did to them in the Super Bowl. They don't add a running back until 7th round running back Rashad Smith, who's a former wide receiver, still learning the running back position. Okay, so no competition there. You go over to their additions in free agency. According to the team changes tracker, this is in my fantasy blueprint, available right now. We'll link it down below. You can get early access for 2025. They had Jalen Moore left tackle. That's great. The only competition added at the running back position, Elijah Mitchell. We know Elijah Mitchell, his rookie year with the 49ers, 6th round pick, I believe, was really effective and efficient, but he's just never been healthy since then. So now we're coming into a situation where if we assume Rashad Smith, a 7th rounder, won't be all that much, and I know Pacheco was a 7th rounder, so there could be a chance, but it's not often. Basically, you're looking at Pacheco with competition in Elijah Mitchell and Kareem Hunt. It's not a lot of competition. Sure, it's competition. Like, Kareem Hunt is a proven veteran who got a lot of work last year, and Mitchell has shown flashes in the NFL, but for the most part, this is a pretty clear path to some success if Pacheco can stay healthy. And I know what you're saying. What about Kareem Hunt? Last year, he got so much usage. Basically, all that usage was when Isaiah Pacheco was out and injured, and even when he was on the field, he ranked 52nd in efficiency amongst running backs, and he only had 3 runs of 10 plus yards on his 223 touches. I mean, the guy was basically just getting volume. He wasn't efficient or honestly good. Meanwhile, Isaiah Pacheco is still just 25 years old. He's still the guy that has elite speed, right? You come here, 4.37 speed when he came out of the NFL draft. So he has the speed. He has the explosive running style. If anything, we can chalk up last season to this right here, his broken fibula in week 2, where he shouldn't even have come back from this injury. A lot of doctors are saying like, yeah, he probably shouldn't even come back. Even if he does come back overall, it's probably not going to be something where we see him be all that effective because this is a serious injury. Like, here's an example of that from last year. Sports MD Analysis, we reference him a lot on this channel because we trust his sources. He's a friend of ours now in the space. Isaiah Pacheco likely to return for week 13, but the data projects that typically a major efficiency dip in workload limits. That's exactly what we saw. He was basically not the same player at all after this injury, but now he has another year to recover. So honestly, if we get a healthy Pacheco in 2025, there's not that much threatening competition. He can get back to being a top 12 back. All right, now before we get into some bonus players that I haven't really seen many people talk about, I just want to say hit the subscribe button. If you enjoy this content, it really does help directly the channel grow and reach more people. Appreciate you in advance. All right, now believe it or not, Javonte Williams was indeed a winner because the Cowboys only spent a 5th round pick on a running back out of Texas in Jaden Blue. And Jaden Blue, he was explosive. He caught passes. He was pretty good last year for a Texas team that went into the Final Four, but overall, he's undersized at 196 pounds, not a featured back. So what does this mean? It means that Javonte Williams, like, nobody felt this guy was going to be the lead back. They thought the Cowboys would take a running back on day 1 or day 2 of the draft, not late in the draft, and a guy who basically was not a feature back. Javonte's only competing with Miles Sanders right now, and that's basically it. There's no more Rico Dowdle here. Javonte is the only guy currently on the roster who sets up as a 3-down back when it comes to size, red zone role, pass catching, and pass protection skills. So right now, he's a winner. And some more winners are the Commanders running backs, Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler, because the Commanders, they only spent a 7th round pick, if we pull it up right here, a 7th round pick in the draft on a running back, and Ja'Cory Merritt. I'll be honest with you, I did a lot of work on this running back class, scouting 30 running backs or so. I did not scout or look at the film for him. He was a 7th round pick. I don't think he's going to be all that impactful for fantasy. But what also happened was the offensive line improved here, right? Laramie Tunsil they trade for. They get Nate Herbig in free agency. They spend their 1st round pick on a tackle in Josh Connerly, which I thought was a strong pick for them in the middle of the 1st round. So overall, you're looking at a better offensive line environment. When Brian Robinson and Eckler were actually healthy last year, they were both productive players, but they both dealt with injuries. So this is a win for them. No added competition in free agency and basically none in the draft. And one that I'm not seeing a lot of people talk about is Garrett Wilson. Like, the Jets did not spend their 1st round pick, as many people were mocking the 7th overall pick, on a Tyler Warren, a tight end, or maybe even on a Tet McMillan, a wide receiver. No, they went offensive line, which only helps their offense even more, and Garrett Wilson sustained drives. And the only wide receiver they added in the draft was a 4th round pick in Arian Smith out of Georgia, which, if you know anything about Arian Smith, he's a little bit of an older prospect, will be close to 24 years old when the season kicks off. He spent 5 years at Georgia. His first 4 years at Georgia, if you look right here, 2020, 86 yards, 102, 198, 153. His first 4 years, he only totaled 539 total yards. He was competing with guys like George Pickens, Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, and some other NFL players. But then he gets a chance in 2024 to see a more featured role, and he does. He averages 17 yards a catch, 817 total yards in this one. He looks a little bit better, but for the most part, like, he's not that threatening of competition. Like, out of all the wide receivers that went in the second, third, and fourth round of the draft, he's like one of the guys that I don't think's all that impressive to take targets away from an alpha receiver like Garrett Wilson. Which means if we look at the Jets offseason moves, sure, they added Arian Smith in the fourth round. They added a tight end in Mason Taylor in the second, who I actually like him, but overall, like maybe a 400 or 500 yard tight end in the NFL. Outside of that, they had Josh Reynolds and they had Tyler Johnson as the wide receiver competition, meaning that right now, the top competition for Garrett Wilson is Devontae Adams out the door, and he's mostly competing right now with like Allen Lazard and Josh Reynolds. So yes, I think Garrett Wilson is a pretty clear and I would say obvious winner. You could also like throw CeeDee Lamb in this, but we already know he's a first round pick, but he got no other competition at all. His biggest competition right now for CeeDee Lamb is going to be like Jalen Tolbert. Even Brandon Cooks is gone from the team. So these are 5 fantasy risers you need to have on your radar and a couple of bonuses after the draft. Let me know in the comment section who you thought was the biggest winner and should be rising up the rankings the most from the NFL draft. And don't forget, QR code is on the screen. Startwinningfantasyfootball.com to get that free 5-day emo course right now, so you can take advantage of your league mates who are making those mistakes and you don't have to. Thanks for watching, everybody. If you enjoyed this video, you can check out my video on the 5 rookies who can absolutely break fantasy football this year. If you're drafting any dynasty leagues, that will help you a ton. And if not, just knowing these rookies can help you in your season-long leagues.